Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tammy. Just going back to Gaza, I know you said you didn't want to go into details, but can you perhaps...
You can ask. I might not answer, but
Well, I'm
yes.
going to ask if you can perhaps speak more broadly then about what gives President Trump so much optimism that he can get a deal through within the next few days, especially given that the parties are still so far apart, with Hamas saying it wants Israeli forces out while Israel say it wants an end to Hamas. So there's just a lot of daylight still between those two parties.
Is there?
Well, can you
but you see, we should not, you're presuming a great deal, which people do have to presume, because the details of something like this, of course, do remain with the negotiating partners, the leaders of nations. What you can tend to see in the media often is just simply not true, or wishful thinking. But whatever it is, what I think we all have noticed, and this is not giving away anything, is that the Middle East changed a couple weeks ago, very dramatically. It changed forever. And the work of the President of the United States, thank God for him, is going to make sure that this is not a lost opportunity. We can say this simply by having watched him most of his adult life in some capacity, but certainly with what he's given up and sacrificed to be the leader of this country. So the Middle East changed dramatically. This is an opportunity in the midst of this new world to make a different kind of decision. He is optimistic. The President is very honest. Sometimes he's pessimistic, and he'll let people know. Again, he's a transparent man, which sometimes can be unusual. We're not used to always hearing it, but it's extremely helpful. So while I don't know the detail of what makes him optimistic, I know to trust him. I know to not second guess him. I know that we understand that he's in the midst of something that can change every day. That's also not lost on him. But the changes that he's been able to bring about has been brought about by the power of his personality and leadership, along with the support of an American government that is in line and embraces what he wants to accomplish. I think that is why he's optimistic. Seems to be a different tone. I hope it works. Of course, again, these are all fluid situations, but he knows things that we don't. And I look forward to finding out if it's this week, if it's next week. But I'm grateful that he's the one making the decisions. Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. Just to go back to the Middle East, is the 60-day ceasefire proposal, was it the same one that Mr. Witkoff proposed to both parties, which includes releasing 10 hostages?
I can't speak to that,
15?
one way or the other. I won't give you details regarding that.
No details at all?
No, I'm sorry, I can't.
Okay. Just now you just condemned the attacks on civilians in Ukraine.
Of course.
Yesterday there was an attack on a beach cafe in Gaza where 24 civilians were killed, including our colleagues, a female journalist was killed as well. Does the United States condemn the killing of civilians on target?
Well, we have always, one of the reasons why we do what we do is because no one wants to have civilians killed, either in a terrorist act, in war. One of the things that the President has repeated, as has Secretary Rubio, is that the carnage has to stop. We have decried the killing of civilians throughout every conflict that exists. At the same time, it's why war is hell. It's why we want something more than a ceasefire is important, but it can't be back and forth. There has to be a durable end to all of these conflicts. So we mourn like everyone. Of course, the killing of civilians, with whomever it is that's engaging in these conflicts. But that is why we're so committed to Gaza, to Israel's right to defend itself. We were as horrified by October 7th and the slaughter of those civilians. This is why it has to end. There is aggressive actions where if you're in war, or if you're defending yourself, and these are civilian areas, it's horrible enough. And it's another to deliberately target civilians for the sake of it. And those are the monsters that we are trying to stop and that the world has tried to stop for generations now. So this is why our work continues in Gaza, why the ceasefire is important, and why the end of war and the status quo that so many people have grown rich from has got to end. Saeed.
Thank you,
Yes,
Tammy.
sir.
WHO, the World Health Organization, said that 112 Palestinian children, many of them are newborn and so on, are sent to whatever remains of the hospital because of malnutrition. It's because the aid is just not getting through. And my question to you is that basically a statement or evidence that the aid that has been going in is not enough and is not sufficient, that maybe the aid ought to be the responsibility of those who
Yes.
have had a great deal of experience in doing this, consistent with all the international organizations that have stated to that effect.
Well, two parts I'll answer that. First of all, there's one entity that has gotten food and aid into the Gaza Strip, and that's the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. We know this. This has been a fact of the matter. And that's, I think we're now up to 56 million meals distributed. So it's still within a war zone. We had a ceasefire that Hamas broke. I would say on the other issue, when it comes to the horribleness of what happens in a war zone, in this case in Gaza, it is occurring because Hamas refuses. It broke a ceasefire. On October 7th, it broke another ceasefire that was attained for the Gaza Strip. It is now refusing, at least up to this point, prior to the change in the Middle East, to continue to agree to another ceasefire. They maintain their firearms. They are maintaining hostages, people they've kidnapped. And so, yes, it is horrible. And it's something that we are working to stop. But I would say regarding aid, we'll just make an admission here. It will never be enough. There will never be enough aid going into a war zone. No matter how many depots the GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, sets up, it will not be enough, because the only way you have a normal life with enough aid and enough food and being able to live your normal life is in an area that is not at war or being held hostage by a terrorist group. So to attempt to normalize the environment that is under this horrible cloud of terroristic monsterism, of the slaughter of innocent people, the using of people as human shields, the using of hospitals as a cover for your operations, the using of schools as a cover for your operations. It is obscene. It is inhuman. So what we do in the midst of that environment will never be enough. And it is a key, though, to unlocking a door, to get to a point where you can have a ceasefire, assisting those who are held hostage by the terrorists, and being able to get to a point where you actually have a ceasefire, removing those who do not abide by the ceasefire, and then begin to build a genuinely different future for the people in that area. What a concept. So we do our best. We know it will never be enough, because the situation is obscene and unusual and unnatural. But we will do it until we also then move to change that situation for the better.